Well, folks, can you believe it? We made it to chapter 10. This is about friendship. Something you all have experience with, something you all know. One thing you have to always remember is friendship is voluntary. There's been probably a lot of times in your life where you wanted somebody to be your friend and they weren't, or somebody wanted you to be a friend and you just didn't feel the same way. I love watching children. Children symbolize what adults do. In many cases, they symbolize what adults should do. Children don't see the differences that we see. You know, a 5 year old kid is a 5 year old kid, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to play together, have a good time, and care about one another. And I think as we grow into adults, sometimes we lose that ability to actually be honest. We get swayed and biased by so many things in our lives. So, thing about friendship is it requires a willingness to invest. If you don't aren't willing to invest in the friendship, it won't grow. If you want somebody to be your friend and they won't invest in the friendship, then it's not going to grow. So we do this through emotional closeness in one of the many ways, and we get emotionally close through a couple of different ways. Through dialogue, you have a conversation, talk to one another, express things, let them know how you feel, talk to them, let them know what they're doing great, what they're, just dialogue. And the other through doing. Um, a lot of times we express our friendship or our like for somebody by doing things for them, you know, and it can be anything. It can be a friend of mine posted this morning that a neighbor shoveled the ice off of her driveway. Yeah, people have snow and ice already this time of year, and we don't have none. Uh, but they did it just because. You know, it wasn't like, well, I'll shovel your driveway for $20 or $50 or whatever. It was, that's just what friends are for. And, she's an older woman, and so they did it because they were being kind and nice and they liked her. So, actions through doing, we can often um, grow a friendship and express emotional closeness through doing. We can also do it through acceptance. We accept their actions and what they do. When we meet somebody, we try to put the best foot forward so they can see the best of us. But we all have flaws. And our friends accept those flaws. Now, this guy named Maslow, he said there's certain things that you have to do. And one of them is first, is physical. You have to eat, you have to drink. You have to be able to stay alive. Then secondly is safety. You want to feel safe. If we didn't have this pandemic going on, we could be in class, but a lot of people wouldn't feel safe in class right now, so we're doing this online. Belonging. We all want to be wanted. I wrote a thing the other day for Rotary about the difference between wanted and needed. And it's nice to be needed. When you're an adult and you have little bitty kids, they need you to protect them, to take care of them, that type of stuff. And at times it's nice to be needed. But when I'm part of an organization, I want to be wanted. I don't want them just to call me when they have something that has to get done. Getting a phone call and say, hey, I missed you today. It's nice. It makes you feel more accepted, more like you belong in an organization. Self-esteem. We have to have positive self-esteem. If you keep saying, well, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, you're not going to do it. You have to believe in yourself. And self-actualization, at some point, I don't think I've ever really met anybody that has reached this point of Maslow's theory to be completely self-actualized. I think that there's always room for growth and change and becoming. So, according to Maslow, you can reach that peak. So, trust. Can we depend on them? If you have a friend, quote unquote, that never comes through, then can you trust them? Do they care about your welfare? Are they a fair weather friend where they only worry about you when things are great, or are they there in the thick and thin of stuff? And the thing about trust is something that should be gradual and over time. When you first meet somebody, you don't tell them all of your faults. You don't tell them all of your secrets. And it should be reciprocal. They give you some, you give them some. Support. Are they willing to listen to your problems? Are you willing to listen to theirs? Sometimes the best thing I can do for a friend is be a sounding board. A friend of mine, his daughter passed away the other day. His daughter and my daughter, both named Amanda, both 32 years old. Completely out of the blue, she had a brain aneurysm. I'd have no earthly idea what it's like to lose a child. But I spent about an hour on the phone with him, just listening to him. Sometimes to be a good friend, you don't need to give advice. You don't need to try to fix the problem. A lot of times, you just need to be there for them, and so they don't feel like they're alone. Now the guy's married, he has a wife, he has a son, but he needed somebody, for lack of a better word, as his equal to talk to. And so sometimes the best thing you can do to support somebody is being a sounding board and letting them know they're not alone. Um, Women tend to verbally share. They're more intimate in their conversation. They let you know or let one another know that how they feel, their emotions. And I hate this male female generalization. I really do. But it's what the textbooks have in them, and I guess in the most part they're true. But not all women verbally share. I just want to make the point of that, and not all men don't verbally share. A lot of men do. Men tend to participate more in what's called covert intimacy. A slap on the back, grab somebody's shoulder, shake their hand. It's not as intimate as women tend to be. Now, there's cultural differences. The European Americans, and once again, these are all generalities, and I hate them, but I got a textbook I got to teach out of, and it's in there. So, Euro Americans are generally understanding and respect and show sincerity. Asian Americans generally are courtesy, restraint, and respect are their key points in a friendship. African Americans, problem solving and respect. And Latina Americans, relationship support and expressiveness. Now, before you start coming down on me because I said something about an ethnicity that you don't like, that's out of the textbook. I got to teach the textbook. The thing that each one of them shows is respect. Um, Friendship grows out of investment, acceptance, and trust, and support and emotional closeness. If you are friends with somebody, it won't grow if you don't invest in a friendship. It won't grow if you don't accept and trust them, and vice versa. So it develops over time. Think about it when you first meet somebody, your acquaintances, you put your best foot forward most of the time. I mean, some of us have met under some extreme circumstances and become good friends. So once again, it's a generality. But you don't really see the real person most of the time. Most of the time, you see what the person they want you to see. If they want to be your friend, they want to be closer to you, and so they are going to show you the side of them that they think will appease you, appeal to you. Um, you, when you become friends, you work out your private rules for interacting. And it grows over time. Like when I generally meet somebody, it's pre-COVID anyway, I'd shake their hand. And then after I got to know somebody better and better, it'd be a hug, guy or girl, it didn't matter. And I hug a lot of the guys I know, especially when I'm leaving, or I haven't seen them in a long time. It's not meant in any sexual way. It's just meant in a closeness way. This is the person I care about, and I'm happy to see them. Um, Once you work out the rules for interacting, uh, friendship kind of becomes stabilized. But um, nothing is perfectly stable. I mean, not even concrete, it cracks. So typically, relationship rules are unspoken. You don't tell somebody, I'll only shake your hand. You just kind of know what's going on. Now, relationships, like anything else, they change. Deterioration sometimes happens in stages. Um, Altman and Taylor talked about depenetration. The onion method we talked of, I believe we talked of, or we should have, and the social penetration theory, where the more you get to know somebody, the deeper you know them. Well, depenetration is you become shallower and shallower. Uh, when one or both stop investing in a friendship, it starts to become a more shallow friendship. Um, and the social construction reality, Berger and Luckman discussed relationship with the Catholic Church. And in that, they said that if you are a Catholic and a practicing Catholic, you have this relationship with the church. If you stop practicing, your relationship begins to wane and deteriorate. And as it begins to wane and deteriorate, you become less close with the church. And the same can be said for friendships. If you don't actively participate and continually construct and maintain that social reality, then the relationship will deteriorate. Knapp talked about um, initiating, experimenting, intensifying, integrating, bonding, differentiating, circumscribing, stagnating, avoiding, and terminating. So he has all these different stages of a relationship. But one thing that Knapp talked about was that it's not like it goes up the set of steps and down the set. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. It bounces back and forth. Another theory of relationship theory that I think is wonderful, and the book doesn't really touch on it, is the Conbill's helical model. Helix is a screw, basically a ramp. And according to Conbill, there's basically four stages of a relationship: security, disintegration, alienation, and resynthesis. Okay, so when you are in a relationship with somebody and it's solid and secure, everything's fine. At some point, it's going to start disintegrating, and then you're going to like space away, alienation, and then you're going to come back together. Well, it's not a circle, because if it were a circle, you'd be in the same place that you were before you started. But it's more of an inclined plane. Either you're going up or you're going down. You could be vertically above or below where you were before, but everything that's happened in between has changed the relationship ever so slightly, if nothing else. So, a lot of people say, well, we had a problem, but we're good again. We're back where we were. In reality, you aren't back where you were. And most relationships fade slowly rather than end abruptly. And if you think about it, think about your past friendships. How many of them actually ended boom like that? How many of them ended because you quit investing, or they quit investing, or you both quit investing, and you just kind of like drifted farther and farther apart? Now, there's internal tensions in any relationship, and relational dialects, dialect are opposing forces, so to speak. There's connection and autonomy. How close are you connected, and how do stuff together, and how much do you're still friends, you're great, but you have your own autonomy, you do different things. Have you ever been in a relationship where somebody said, "You're smothering me," or have you ever told somebody, "You're smothering me," strictly because there was too much connection for you at that point in the relationship? You wanted more autonomy, openness, and privacy. How much do you know about your partner in a relationship? How much do they keep private? My wife and I have been married for 38 years. God, it's a long time. Anyway, next month it'll be 38 years. Um, and there's still some things that are private to me and private to her. You know, I don't tell her every little detail of my life. There's some things that are my life that I don't share. And there's some things in her life that she doesn't share. I had a conversation with somebody once about honesty in relationships. And they said, well, you have to be 100% honest. And I said, no, you don't. Because if, and I may have told y'all this story, but the first meal my wife fixed for me was mashed potatoes, fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and gravy. And you know how you put the potatoes on the plate, put a hole in, pour the gravy in? I put the gravy on the plate, pour a hole in it, pour the potatoes in. You know, I wasn't open and said, this sucks. I kept it to myself. It was not anything I needed to say to her. And so, a lot of times I think 100% honesty is the failure of a relationship, because sometimes you have to take into account their feelings, and what you might say that could hurt them that you don't need to hurt them. Novelty and familiarity. Um, After 38 years, it's pretty familiar in my life. If I'm not upstairs, I'm down in my office. My wife knows it. Um, I know that she likes to sleep late. I know that I don't. I'm familiar with all that stuff. Every now and then, it changes. Sometimes I sleep until 7, 8 o'clock. Not very often, but it's novel when I do. I eat breakfast. My wife doesn't. But there have been mornings where she got up when I got up, and she went in and cooked us both breakfast. And it was the novelty of it. It wasn't, the familiarity. I know she doesn't, but it was something different and new. And that's the nice thing about the novelty. Your communication style. How do you talk with your partner? I've seen a lot of things recently about love languages. There's even some commercial about love languages when grandma and grandpa are talking about, I don't know, having an ice cream. I don't remember what it was. And the kid says, I want one. But that's not what they meant. But how do you, what style do you use when you communicate? Are you overbearing? Are you open? Um, do you listen? Sexual attraction. A lot of good friends are not sexually attracted to one another, although they are of the opposite sex that they are attracted, or they are of the gender that they are attracted to. But sometimes sexual attraction causes difficulty in a relationship. A lot of people say that guys and girls can't be friends, and I don't agree with that. I mean, I have some very good girlfriends that we are not attracted to one another. I'm not attracted to them. I don't think they're attracted to me. But it can also add to the fire of a relationship. You know, if you are sexually attracted to somebody and become a romantic partner, the friendship takes on a completely different level. And sometimes that's a good thing. I had a friend one time and we were really good friends and we actually discussed it one night and said, should we? And we both said, nah, we don't want to ruin the friendship because we knew that it wouldn't be a lasting uh, romantic relationship. And so we did not want to add something in there and ruin what we had. External pressures. We have external pressures in our day to day life, you know, competing demands. I told my wife and many people for years that I was married to the Army and she was my mistress because the competing demands in that particular case was my career. And if Uncle Sam said go, I was leaving. Um, but there are other times competing demands. You know, I enjoy hunting. I enjoy woodworking. I enjoy working with my hands. So, you know, sometimes I got to cut the grass, I got to trim the trees, I got to do something, I got to paint this. You know, my wife might say, "Well, I want to go do so and so." Well, baby, I'd love to, but I've got student speeches I got to grade online. You know, so sometimes we have competing demands that compete for our time. Personal change. And sometimes people grow apart. They grow over time. They become different people, and their interests change, and sometimes they grow apart. And if that's the case, then the relationship will change. You know, if my relationship, um, if it started becoming more and more important to me, uh, well, I'm blind now. Okay, that changed. Luckily, my wife wasn't one of the ones that said goodbye. So, but I have seen other people, quote, get disabled and get divorced because they changed. Geographic distance. You know, when I was a comm student, CSU, and a long time ago, one of the professors put up some data, and it said that they did a study and found that most people marry somebody from within 12 miles of where they're at. It's like, duh, they really had to do a study to figure that out. But you know, I grew up in Georgia and Connecticut and Texas, and I have friends from all over the place. Some of my um, friendships, and then I spent 20 years in the Army. Some of my friendships have survived the geographic distance, and some of them haven't because I guess they weren't that strong of friendships. But geographic distance can put a pinch on it. Now, geographic distance is not as great a thing as it used to be. You know, I can remember pre, you know, internet and social media where you know I would write somebody an actual letter and mail it to them, and it would take a week for them to get it, and then they'd write a letter and take a week for me to get a response back, and you know that's kind of daunting at times. Or if I wanted to call somebody, I would have to stand in line when I was in the army in Europe. I'd have to stand in line and wait for a phone, you know, phone to be available I could use, and then I'd have to have $20 that I could spend for a 5 minute phone call to call somebody. So with social media, we don't have all those restrictions. We don't have all those limitations that we once had, and it's changed how friendships span the distance, But one thing I'd like you to do is I'd love to ask this in class, but of course I can't, is define friends. You know, to me, a friend, I can count my friends on one hand. You know, I have a few friends, but a lot of people is using social media. You know, is they've got 500 friends or 600 friends or 1,000 friends, and you know when my nephews in Illinois first got on Facebook and friended me, then they sent a friend request to every one of my friends. You know, I don't really call that friendship. You know, it's acquaintances maybe, but define friends. And then another problem with social media is cyberbullying. You know, even in a pre-internet day, we had friendships and we had some bullies. But now the problem with cyberbullying is you really can't turn it off. You know, when I was a kid in school, if somebody was picking on me, I could go home. You know, and that'd be the end of it. But a lot of times people get this all day, every day. You have to engage in a dual perspective. You know, you have to not only look at how you see the world, you have to look at how your friend sees the world, whoever you're in a relationship with. You have to communicate honestly between the two of you, and grow from your differences. I have learned to appreciate a lot of things because my wife liked them. I didn't appreciate everything, but I learned to appreciate a lot of stuff, and she's done the same with me. And if you want a friendship to last, one of the most important things you have to do is not sweat the small stuff. You know, don't get upset about all the little bitty things because they really don't matter. What matters is the big stuff. So that has been the chapter on friendship, and I hope I have shed some light on some things you didn't understand or didn't see before. Chapter 10 is um, an interesting look at how friendships develop, but it's not. Um, Friendships are so dynamic that I don't think a text can really um, completely grasp everything about a friendship. You know, some people you're friends with, and you don't really know why. You like them and they like you, and it's not anything I don't think an academic can define in a textbook. But that's it for chapter 10. I'll be back next week with chapter 11. I hope you have a great week. Remember, if you have any questions, complaints, gripes, or moans, you know how to contact me. Y'all have a great day. Bye.